Have you been looking for a keto fudge recipe that actually acts like real fudge? You know, fudge that you don't have to keep refrigerated just to hold shape because it's so soft. Yeah, I was too. But I really think that I found a fudge that will check off all those marks for us. I made this fudge last year for Christmas, and that's why I'm bringing it to you, because this fudge was gone like that. This fudge has been out of the refrigerator for over an hour. It's not sweaty. It's soft but firm. So it smells delicious, and I've already had a piece, so I can tell you it tastes even better. So let's jump into this recipe and let's see how we make it, because it's simple and easy, and I love simple and easy.
So these are going to be the ingredients that we're working with. Now, in this recipe, there's two parts. The first part, we are actually making a sweetened condensed milk, and we'll be using heavy whipping cream for that. A sugar substitute of your choice, I'm using Pure. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. I do find that Pure, who is a stevia erythritol mix, does have a slight cooling effect. I like to use Swerve, but it does have a slight cooling effect too, but I don't find it as pronounced in Swerve as I do Pure, but I'm just using the sugar that I have on hand today. You also could use the LiQWYD monk fruit sweetener too. So just any allulose, any of those that you want to use. We're also going to be using unsalted butter, and that's going to make the condensed milk part of it. Now over here, I have my Perfect Keto chocolate collagen powder. This ingredient is optional. You do not have to use it unless you want to. And then I also have Lily's. I am just using the semi-sweet. It's what I have on hand. If you like a more milk chocolate flavor, you're more than welcome to use that. So because I am using semi-sweet, it is going to be more like dark chocolate, so it's going to be a little more rich. Also, the recipe calls for 9 ounces. As you can see, the packages that you get now in the stores are 7 ounces, so I'm going to be aiming for 1.5 cups, but I'm probably going to have to get into another package, so just keep that in mind. So let's get started making this sweetened condensed milk. Our first step is to get a nice size saucepan. Doesn't have to be real big. I just got a bigger one just to be able to show you what it looks like and what we're going to do. So I'm going to reach in here. I am going to actually put this on a medium heat. If it's an electric stove, we're going to go on medium. If you're using a gas, it's going to be 3 or 4 on there. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to add the butter in here. So we've got the butter melting down pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and add in this is 4 tablespoons of butter, by the way. And let me turn this around for you. We are actually putting in 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, or 16 ounces of heavy whipping cream. I'm going to go ahead and add this into our butter. I'm actually going to take my spatula and try to get as much as this out of my measuring cup here. Alright. And next we are going to go ahead and add that 2/3 cup of sweetener into this. You can see the dust coming off in there. And I'm just going to start whisking this all together to help combine the ingredients together. While we're waiting for that butter to melt down and get that all put in together, what we're going to do next is we're going to prepare our dish here. I've got an 8x8 right here, and it depends on what size you use, kind of on how thick you want your fudge to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some parchment paper out. If you've ever heard me talk about our friends in the kitchen, parchment paper is a friend. And sorry, I know it's really loud with me messing with this, but we're just going to put it in here and try to get it here on the bottom. Now, as you notice, it doesn't stay together very well. And this is going to look weird, but I'm going to come back with my friends to help. As you can see, I have little paper clips here. Now, if you wanted to cut this to make it fit better, that is fine. You can do that too. I like to do things on the simple side. It's not pretty, but it's ready to go. So let's get back to our sweetened condensed milk that we're trying to make. I'm here and my butter is completely melted. As you can see, it's kind of got this nice little yellow color from butter here. And it is all mixed up really well. So what we're trying to achieve here now is I'm going to leave this on a medium heat until we get a really low boil going on. We don't want to make this too hot. We just want to simmer it. So when we get to a boil, we're actually going to turn down the heat and we're going to turn on a timer and check it at certain times for the thickness of it coming together. It only took a few minutes to get to a low rolling boil here. And so right now I am going to turn it down to low. We want it to simmer. So for me, that's going to be like a notch above low. But if you're on a gas stove, it's probably going to be like a 2, maybe a 3. So this will come down to where it's smaller bubbles. And we are going to start the clock here. We're going to check this in 10 minutes for the consistency. But we need to stir or whisk it every couple of minutes. If you see that it's not bubbling, like if it gets too low, go ahead and turn up that heat, but it may affect the time that it takes for this to come together. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to come up to the thickness that we want. And as you can see, I've already got my utensils out here. I'm using them for different things. We're going to be using that spoon to check the thickness of it. So at this point, we're just wanting to stir it every couple of minutes, and we're going to come back in 10 minutes. We're at the 10-minute mark. You see that I've just got small bubbles coming up here. That's where we want it to be. I'm going to give it a good mix right here. Now, the trick here is to take a cool spoon and what we're going to do, you can see that it's starting to thicken up just a little bit. We're going to let this cool. Let me get some of this off in here. We're going to let this cool down just a little bit, and we're going to check the consistency. So it's cooled down for about a minute. You can see kind of how jiggly it is and how it's still pretty liquidy right here. We're not quite there yet, and you can see how it kind of coats the back of the spoon. It's not quite where we want to be, but I am starting to see that it's starting to reduce just a little bit. So let's come back in about, I'm going to guess about 7 minutes. All right, we're at the 17 minutes. I don't know if you can see, but you can see where on the side, you can tell it's getting thicker because it's kind of coating the side of my pan. So I keep making sure that I also stir around the edges. All right, let's take our spoon. All right, you can already tell when it's warm that it's liquidy, but it's getting thicker. So let's check this in a minute and see if we're at the right consistency. All right, so you can see that it's getting relatively thicker there. It's not moving. It's not quite as liquidy. And you can see that it's really starting to coat the back of the spoon. So it is starting to thicken up really good, but I think we're going to go and check it again at the full 20 minutes, which is just a couple minutes away. We're actually back at 21 minutes. I just wanted to show you that you can kind of see in the pot itself that it is thickening up. It kind of has this sheen to it. Another good indicator that you're starting to get to the right consistency as well. It feels a little bit thicker, and you can see that it really starts to coat the wire waste. You can see at the top where it's just really starting to coat and collect. So that's another good sign. So let's do our spoon test. Jiggly, but really starting to get thick. So let's let this cool down just a little bit in the spoon. All right, so you can see how it's just really thickened up in the spoon here. We are actually at the consistency we want. I'm going to show you this again. See how it just kind of coats the back of that spoon? That's where we want to be. So at this point, it's actually been on the burner for about 23 minutes, you know, because taking that minute to cool down and everything. And at this point, we're going to turn off the stove. And we're going to set it over here on the burner. And we're going to let it start to cool down for 15 minutes. And we'll be back in 15 minutes. So it's been cooling for 15 minutes. And it's thickened up really nice. And it's still a little bit warm. So we are going to add a little bit of our chocolate chips at a time so that they can start melting down. And we're just going to continue adding these chocolate chips a little bit at a time until they start melting down and start to incorporate together. So at this point, it's all nice and incorporated. This is the point that you would put in that Perfect Keto chocolate collagen if you wanted to, 1 scoop. But because I know not a lot of people might have that, I am keeping it out this time to show you what the consistency looks like. Now, if you do add it, it does add a really nice consistency to it. But like I said, it is optional because not everybody has that. And I wanted to make this recipe as simple as possible. So let's go ahead and pour this into our pan. Alright, I'm going to use my spatula to get all this nice yumminess out of here. So we're going to go ahead and tap it, get all that air out of it. Now, we're going to go ahead and put it into the refrigerator for 1 hour. Just get it cooled down and start to set up. And then after that, we're going to stick it in the freezer for 15 minutes. So I'm going to show you what it looks like after 1 hour in the refrigerator. Oops, I never got them into the freezer. I got busy last night. So if you got time and you don't need it to the next day, leaving it in the refrigerator is just fine. It's just if you're needing it within the next couple of hours, you can pop it in the freezer just to help it set up a little bit quicker, because you're just wanting to make sure that it is cool on the bottom of the pan to the touch. That way, when you take it out to cut it, it's easier to cut and it's not going to crumble or be too soft for you. You can see the parchment paper has done its job. It's an easy release. And now I have a clean pan that I don't have to wash. That's always a win. And you're going to see that the parchment paper has done its job again. It's an easy release and it's coming right away from that fudge very easily. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut it up into 35 pieces. That's what a serving size is. It is actually just a little bit over a carb per piece. You'll see the macros. I'll be popping them up here in a minute. You can see I'm actually struggling just a little bit to slice through the fudge, so it is set up very well. It is firm, but it's not too firm. Yeah, the struggle is real. I actually will be coming back in and showing you what the 35 pieces look like all cut up, but I will be popping up the macros here for you right now. They are actually just a little over 1 net carb. All right, so here's the 35 pieces, and this is what it looks like up close. You can see it did indeed set up very well. It's firm. It looks like fudge. And it's not sweating. That is one of the things I love about this recipe is it's not sweating, because a lot of products you put into the refrigerator will start to sweat. So I'm going to store it in this glass and lock, and you can store that up for a week. Now I'm going to be dipping into this. Fudge is one of my favorite things. So you'll have to watch my week 13 to see how it affected my weigh-in, or if it did. It's just not going to last in my refrigerator that long because my family really likes it. This is one of the products they now go, oh, it's one of those keto things. No, they look at it and they're like, oh, it's fudge. So if you like quick and easy recipes like this, go ahead, like and subscribe so that I know that you do. If there's any other recipes that you would like for me to try, comment down below and I will try them. And if it's a recipe that I've never made before, we can do one of those recipes where I make it and we can rate the recipe on how easy it is and if the ingredients were easy to get and everything. So until then, have a great day, and I hope that you really enjoy this fudge. It is really yummy. Bye, everybody.